Today, Charlie Kirk was assassinated at an event in Utah. I'm sure most of you have already seen the news by now. We've all been talking about it quite a bit. The videos that emerged out of Utah are shocking. There is some news. The FBI states that they have a subject in custody. We don't know exactly what this means or what's happening. Videos have emerged that show an individual running across the rooftop at the event. And Charlie Kirk has lost his life. Donald Trump has issued a statement and has ordered flags lowered to half-staff. There's some very respectful and honorable things that I've seen. The Yankees had a moment of silence for Charlie. And there's a lot to talk about in the news, what this means. It almost feels completely unreal and unbelievable to have to do a show starting by saying that they killed Charlie Kirk. But we're just going to jump into it. We got a panel. Heck of a day to join us, Chuck.
Charlie Kirk was an icon. He did so much in our country. He did so much in Wyoming, where I'm from. I've been on the phone with Turning Point students all day from across Wyoming. He just did an event in late April at the University of Wyoming, and he spent 3 hours taking questions, debating, talking about the truth. And he formed Turning Point USA to say, we need to have a dialogue on college campuses. He's talked about this so eloquently so many times. That's why he started it.
Do you want to just give a quick introduction to...
Yeah, I'm Chuck Gray, the Wyoming Secretary of State, chief election official for the state of Wyoming, also serves as the second in command, the lieutenant governor in Wyoming, and really sad about today's events.
Thanks for joining. Normally I tell the guests it's going to be a fun one, but this is going to be a substantially more serious and painful one. But Libby is here as well.
Yep, I'm Libby Emmons. I'm actually glad to be here among friends to talk about Charlie's passing and to remember him. Thanks for having me on.
Elaad Eliyahu, White House correspondent here at Timcast. Ian?
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Charlie was, I only spent a couple times hanging out with him and did a couple shows with Charlie, but he's one of the greatest. All right, let's move on, man. Let's take this talk. Hey, Phil.
How you doing? My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. Let's get into it.
Behind Phil, we put up our autographed, signed Charlie Kirk poster. Several years ago, he joined us for a debate on Timcast IRL with the progressive leftist Vosh, and he signed it for us, and we put it up. Where do we start? Charlie was doing what Charlie always does. He was doing events where he engaged with the college kids. He allows anybody who wants to come and talk to him to talk to him. He epitomized what these progressives and these liberals have long called for, which is democracy. He said, okay, we'll have the conversation. We'll have the debate. That's all he ever did. It was an above-board organization. It is. Turning Point Action and Turning Point USA, as well as Turning Point UK, and all of their affiliates are typical, on the level, proper filing, all the good stuff to function fairly and honorably in a democratic, Republican form of government. And he got killed. Now, there is some information that we can show you what's going on in social media. Let me see if I can find this. I don't even know if we should show some of these tweets. I'm not going to show this one. There's a tweet that people have surfaced where someone says that they hope something happens to Charlie, and then they followed up by saying something will happen tomorrow.
Who said that?
It's an anonymous Twitter X account. I think they found the person behind it. Cash has made a statement now. I'll pull this up from Post Millennial. Suspect in Charlie Kirk assassination in
There's
custody.
actually been an update on that.
On the article?
No, the article hasn't been updated because I just got the update just now. Cash Patel said the suspect in custody has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. Our investigation continues, and we will continue to release information in interest of transparency. So that's actually the second suspect who has been released today.
They don't know who did it.
They have no idea.
Was it like 200 yards away from a building with a high-powered rifle?
There was something about people somebody running across a roof. Yeah, but they don't have any idea who did this. But if it was somebody on a roof, that's the same playbook as the attempt on
Trump.
the president's life last summer. Yeah.
I don't really. Okay, I'm just going to say this. I think that somebody was afraid who's the next Trump, and they thought it was Charlie.
Well, Charlie had a good shot at becoming president. You know, I would have voted for him.
Me too.
The odd thing about these suspects was that I was watching Fox News earlier, and there were actually multiple people who were interviewed live on Fox News who said the people in custody were not the right people.
Right.
And it gave it a really weird vibe immediately, because you saw these videos going around of some bald old man saying, "S me," and he was saying, I have a right to remain silent and whatnot. And you have to imagine there's no way that a person like this could get away. There's just so many questions marks here. So many people are in shock. Charlie Kirk was a guy who dedicated his life as early, I believe, in high school, or even maybe before that, to conservatism and conservative politics. And he was murdered while doing the things that he loved. I think the reason why this strikes so many conservative commentators and politicos and whatnot is because Charlie Kirk was so deeply in tune with so many different creators and journalists and right-wing media figures in the space.
I did a stream, I think around 5 o'clock. I wanted to wait. I'll try and just give you guys the quick breakdown of what was going out through the day on our end news-wise. You can imagine with the show that we do, we have sources, we have friends who work in the administration. We are friends with Turning Point. They have been just always so amazing to us. They treat us like royalty. I never knew why. I was always Charlie was always so good to us. He made us feel like kings. We, for the past 3 years, we were on stage at Turning Point. They brought us up there. They took care of us to make sure we can get our team out there. And I want to just say, when we do these trips, it's really hard because we have this regularly scheduled nightly show. Charlie not only built us a temporary studio, he let us use his personal studio, but while it was being built, and he personally stayed late with us when all of his staff went home to make sure we were taken care of. This man was so good to us. It is hard to believe that this has happened, and I'm just so pissed off for 1,000,001 reasons, for all the obvious reasons everybody understands. There are many, many more people who have much more right to be angry than I, of course. So my thoughts and my prayers are with his family and his friends and his organization. And, just we're at their disposal, whatever they need, whatever we can do.
It's outrageous they don't have somebody. Maybe there's something going on behind the scene, but
I mean, look, you have a big crowd of people. And this is the thing about Trump. This is the thing about Charlie. These guys will walk up to you and shake your hand, and they will say, "Tell me what's up." We just saw a video of Trump. Pro-Palestine protesters called him Hitler, and Trump walked right up to him.
Why
He didn't get in their
were
face or
those
anything.
people allowed to get so close to the president? That has to stop.
I don't know.
That has to stop too.
But it is, and this worries me, when the assassination attempt on Trump was made, people pointed out that Trump intentionally doesn't like heavy security because he wants people to be able to talk to him. When you're at Mar-a-Lago,
That's like JFK.
yeah. When you're at Mar-a-Lago, we've been there a couple times. You walk right in. I mean, if you're not
They tag you. I mean, there's like a little.
when you walk in, if you're not dressed appropriately, they just say, "How are you? Can we help you?" Because there's a dress code here.
Mm-hmm.
When we went there, and they said the president's going to be having a dinner, and I went and bought a suit. I did. People were like, "Tim, wear a suit for that." I did buy a suit. We walked right in. You walk right in. There's Speaker Mike Johnson in a room. There was, I think, Rob Blagojevich was there, and we saw Trump. And I walked right up, and Brucewitz was there, and he was like, "Mr. President, I'd like you to meet." I think this was actually before the election. Was it before the election?
Yeah.
It was. He said, "I wanted you to introduce you to Tim." We shook my hand. There's no security. It's like Secret Service is there, but they're, in their designated locations. And Charlie was very much like that. He was doing these events, and he wanted to be accessible to the best of his abilities. That's why he goes out to these campuses, and he sits there in a campus and says, "Come and have a conversation with me." Charlie won the debate, and that's why these people took his life, because they had no response to someone who had so thoroughly won the debate.
I mean, so it's a tough day for everybody, especially people that, believe in what Charlie was doing, right? Like, he went to people that disagreed with him, and he said, "Let's talk about it." let me give you insight into the way that I and people that I'm politically aligned with think. And I just saw a tweet that literally just made, kind of knocked me over. The guy said, "What's the point of liberalism if it leads to the let's talk about it guy bleeding out on a debate stage?"
Yeah.
And I don't want to give up on our republic because the option is to do things that are, is to take liberties away from people. And that's not good for America. But the people that killed Charlie, the people that are celebrating Charlie's death, they don't believe in liberalism. They're not liberals as much as, well, that's the name that they get, that is used to describe them. They're looking for a reaction. And today, everybody's emotions are so high, or so, it's such a painful day. Like, it's really hard to not, post things that are TOS violations or say things that are really bad, So it's just really tough to control that impulse, because there are terrible things that I want to say, and terrible things that, because I'm emotional about the whole thing. We've been talking about how the political climate in this country is going to lead to these kind of things. We were talking about it. I mean, I've been here going on 3 years, and since I started coming on the show, we've been saying, where's the off-ramp? Where's the off-ramp? How do we stop this? How do we prevent this from escalating? And then it's been, political, using the government going after their political enemies. And then there was the attack on Donald Trump, 2 attacks on Donald Trump. Some people called one of the dudes that jumped on stage a 3rd attack on Donald Trump. And now Charlie. Where does it end? Because Charlie was so milquetoast, everyday conservative.
Seriously.
He was so inoffensive.
This is what terrifies me.
The guy that comes after Charlie is not inoffensive.
But it terrifies me that that's who they're going after. Charlie Kirk was mainstream conservative,
So articulate.
but
He cared about family.
He was not an extremist.
No.
He was a regular. It was moderate politics, and that's who they kill.
It was virtuous.
It was common sense. Boris Johnson, in his post on X today, said that Charlie Kirk was communicating common sense. That's what Make America Great Again. That's what it is.
This is just Martin Luther King. This is like them taking Martin Luther King's life. The man spoke for a generation of people that had been relegated or felt relegated, and he threatened the political power. Martin Luther King could have commanded 10,000 people to go push a button, and they would have done it. Charlie had that same power.
Mr. Gray, can you tell us a little bit more about how you think we should be feeling and thinking about this in an age of political violence? You're an elected official. Do you feel those pressures on you as well? What's your reaction here?
Well, earlier we were talking about what's the off-ramp. Well, the off-ramp is what Charlie Kirk was presenting, which is this vibrant political debate. When he came to the University of Wyoming in late April, he spoke for about, I'd say, 7 to 9 minutes, and then it went straight to Q&A, the Q&A that he was known for. And he would have these very respectful back and forth debates on the issues of the day. And it was broadcast live. I mean, it's a pivotal part. I mean, when we look at the polling numbers on Gen Z and the transformation politically of Gen Z, Turning Point is a pivotal part of that. And Charlie's a visionary.
I don't think we should dilute the facts here about the loathing of the left towards Charlie Kirk. They thought he was a misogynist because he was pro-life, and he was irredeemable because of that. They thought he was irredeemable because he supported Israel, and they would accuse him of supporting genocide. They think that because he was willing to call out black violence towards white people, that he was a racist, and that all of this stuff makes him an irredeemable white supremacist, bigoted racist that many on the left are actually going to celebrate. We shouldn't dilute ourselves into thinking
They
otherwise.
are celebrating
And
it. There's already been photographs.
if this
of
monster
people.
is ever found, which God willing they will be soon, I think they will be turned into a Luigi Mangione type figure. We're in an era of political
Not
violence.
necessarily. I mean, if he's prosecuted and convicted, Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah, said that he wanted to remind everyone that Utah still has the death penalty.
Yes. But what Elaad is saying is that they lionize Luigi Mangione.
Yes,
He's
they
a
do.
hero to the left.
Yes, they do.
And when they do catch this guy, the left is going to make portraits of him as a saint, and they're going to put him on their magazine covers.
And they're fake religious candles.
Indeed.
Charlie Kirk was more than just a political commentator. I think he was an American icon of conservatism. He was more than just himself. He was really a figurehead for conservatism, the new age of conservatism. He was only, I believe, 31.
31 years old.
At the time of his
Started
death.
when he was a teenager, built up
Didn't go to college.
the most powerful political organization of our generation. People were just talking last year how when we were at TPUSA, parties were popping up. James O'Keefe had a party, as he does these parties at Turning
He used
Points.
to have great parties.
They're the biggest parties. And I'm talking to people saying, like, Charlie has basically built political. He's like, this is the beginning of a political South by Southwest.
Yeah.
This is huge.
Yeah, and then when he opened up America Fest, not just to students, but to everybody, people of all ages were coming to America Fest to hang out and meet each other. And it was a sort of revelation during the Biden woke era and all that. It was like, oh, wait, there's more of us. There's more of us who are not on board with all of this lunacy.
There was
We can hang out. We can have conversations and not be shunned and not be kicked out of our families here.
all of the side events that were being built up around it. And people were saying, this is bigger than the RNC. Turning Point has become
Oh, it was going to
something
take
new.
over. Yeah. It was going to take over that whole realm.
If there's someone that is charismatic at Turning Point, it still could, because Charlie's the legacy that Charlie has left is something that a lot of people are going to coalesce around.
Well, I was thinking about this too on the drive over here, and I was thinking that the men who are next in line to Charlie's legacy are really going to need to step up, you know, and really are going to be in that spotlight. Men like Jack Posobiec, men like you, Tim Pool, you know, I mean, the men who are at the forefront of this and have been unafraid and have been speaking their mind, there's going to be a lot more light on them, you know, and a lot more, perhaps more danger as well, which is sort of terrifying to think about. But it can't, what Charlie was creating is not something that the people of America can afford to lose.
Yeah, I'm thinking, what would he say if he was here right now? How would he guide people? And I'm kind of torn down the middle between the animal part of me that wants the vengeance and wants to find the guy and see a public execution. And then there's the part of me that's like kindness, compassion, forgiveness. These are what Charlie preached. These are the things he believed in. And that not to fall into the rage, because
But what is
There's a middle road there, though, Ian. Not just kindness, compassion, forgiveness, or unadulterated rage. Justice.
yeah,
and
but
I
not to
think-
cause pain on the victim, unnecessarily suffering, because that's more
kinda think
hellish.
the
Don't
victim
worry
needs
about.
unnecessary
Don't worry
pain.
about the.
Not the victim,
no.
the perpetrator.
what you are correct on is I would never purport to speak for Charlie, but I imagine as a rational and intelligent, powerful leader, he would say, we have to be reasonable and rational in how we respond now. Trump is gaining tremendous victories. We have won electorally. The actions against Charlie are the moves of a desperate, fringe, psychotic ideology. They want to drag us down into the mud so that we break from the position that has brought us success. That does not mean we don't get justice. Utah, they said they have the death penalty, and they're going to find this person. What this means for us is we have to remain calm and collected and vigilant, working towards justice, finding the suspect, but making sure we do not allow wanton, random escalation. And that's what I fear. That an attack against Trump, for many of us, is terrifying, is shocking, it's offensive. Charlie was not a politician. Charlie was just a guy who had passion in politics and built up organizations to pursue those passions, but he did not decide how you would live or sleep. He just explained his ideas and he did it better than they did. And that was a threat they took out. Charlie, all today, going through the news and talking with our sources and our friends from various organizations, every phone call I was on was struggling through tears on both ends. It's because Charlie treated you like you were the best. It was very Christian-like, that he was there for you, whatever you needed. And so everybody felt like their best friend just got taken from them. This has the potential to be substantially more catastrophic than anybody else they could have targeted.
I think it's on the level of like, the assassinations of 68. I think that's where we are. I think that's what this is. MLK, RFK, both 68. What was it like? April and July, something like that. Yeah. And I think that's what this is.
You know what that did? It destroyed the hope and dreams of the kids in the 60s that thought JFK was there to help. And he was. He was there to step up against the military war machine and scale it down. And people believed and they had hope, and then it was taken.
And the people who believed in the civil rights movement, only to have Martin Luther King Jr. struck down as well.
By the FBI, is that confirmed?
I don't know.
The far left in this country seems completely emboldened to have vigilante justice against those who they view as fascists, which is anybody on the right. And unless, I don't know what the President Trump administration can do, I don't see how this, we're saying hearts and prayers. We're saying, this is horrible and like this will have a huge impact. This will have a huge impact to hurt the conservative movement. I don't know where this leads, but this is a symptom of a larger trend. Well,
it's a trend do you remember Punch a Nazi? And then suddenly they decided we were all Nazis.
10 years ago, I was like, and this is when I was, before I was in the political world beyond Twitter. I'm a dude in a band, and I see people that I know saying, "Oh, it's okay to punch Nazis," and I'm like, "This leads nowhere good. This is going to lead us to a terrible place." And what I got back was, "Why are you defending Nazis?"
Right.
And it was almost ubiquitous in the music industry. Like
it was for sure the truth in the arts. I mean, it was true in the theater community in New York City. It was true if you remember I don't know why anyone would remember this, but in 2018, there was an exhibit at the San Francisco Public Library that had Punch a Turf, because they went from punch a Nazi to beat up women who don't think men are women. And they had a baseball bat that was like covered with fake blood that said Punch a Turf on it. Like all of this stuff, it has escalated. And a lot of people were, being like, hey, that's crazy. And here we are, and they're assassinating, extremely wonderful young men.
So the question then is, immediately when this happens, our security team, they're contacting us. I assure you, every person in this space, their companies, their teams, they made phone calls. Everything's been dialed up as high as it can be dialed up. I mean, just a week ago, I was saying like, wow, things have calmed down. Where are the riots? It seems like we're winning. And I think this is what happens when it is perceivable that to everybody, including your adversaries, that you're winning, they take these desperate moves. The question for us is, I had an event planned with Alex Stein for October. It was a campus event. I had actually reached out to Charlie saying that, I'd love to do some of these if possible. We were planning more. This was earlier in the year, and so we were like, let's see what time we have in the fall. I'm super busy, so we found a date, and we're like, let's give it a shot. It's canceled. And
canceled it.
Well,
I'm glad.
I can't do it.
I'm glad you canceled it.
But now we also have these live venue events, and it looks like I have no choice but to cancel them, or at least I can't be there.
I'm not for or against you canceling them, but how would you respond to somebody who says that's them winning?
Indeed. And so the debate was, they are celebrating right now. Their Daily Mail has a video, I'm not going to show it, of leftists celebrating. A video's gone viral. People have taken all these leftists, they're dancing and they're cheering. There are people outside of universities right now, and there's videos of them cheering and high-fiving and celebrating. They called for it. They're happy that it's happened, and they threatened me. And so the debate is, we do a show every night. I do a morning show, 2 morning shows, technically 3, because we break the interview up, and this nightly show. We reach millions of viewers. We can keep doing that, or I can risk dying to go to a crowd of 500. And so maybe you want to say, yes, they've shut down our public events and they've isolated us to these spaces. But what is the answer? How do you?
Terrorist one, we're terrorized.
No, stay inside.
Yes.
You got to stay inside. This is Kennedy got hit, John F. Kennedy, when he was outside, and they realized you can't parade the president out in the open anymore. So they stopped. Guns are too easy to find now. And it's the same thing with if you're a high-level political personality.
John Lennon was walking into a hotel.
Yeah, and
But guys,
there's nothing you can do.
Hold on, Elaad, what you were talking about, like, they haven't won because you're not doing a public appearance. They've only won if you stop doing the show, if you stop talking about these things, if you stop bringing the opposing argument.
They've struck fear into your heart where you're scared to do in a public event that you'd otherwise do. It does feel like you're sufficiently terrorized.
If it's one person, it's totally different. If you're talking about putting a boatload of people into a room, other people that work here, it's a different thing.
Let me address that. It's not the fear of it. They literally killed him. The intent is clear, and the risk is not, I am scared of the left. It's that they are killing people.
You got to change tactics. It's not a loss if you change your tactics. If the enemy develops a new weapon in the culture war that's like artillery and your old position's no longer viable, you just remaneuver to a new position that's more fortified. That's understandable.
The big question is, so there was a story, and I told this before. I mean, I don't know if I should, but we were in Nashville, and we were going to go. I was gonna play music. I think Ian was gonna. We were gonna go to John Rich's Honky Tonk, and there was a security threat, which I won't go into detail on. And I was told we can't do the event because of this security risk, this threat against you. And then I said, they're not gonna stop me. They can't scare me. And then I was told, Tim, this is downtown Nashville, and there are children outside. If someone comes with a gun, it's not about you. And I went, I get it. Okay. If we go to this event and we say that we're going to be on the ground at this university and some lunatic shows up with a gun, it's not just me that's at risk. It's any one of those kids or people who want to show up too.
Well, and all those kids were fleeing. They were running.
Right. And thankfully nobody else was injured, but horrifyingly, Charlie, the leader of this massive movement, has lost his life. I certainly understand the anger you might feel over this tactic stops us from doing these university events because they're so powerful and important. But so there is a level of, if I would put it like this. If we were talking about a battlefield and you know that the enemy has assassins targeting your officers, you take your officers out of the risk and then you utilize other resources in these key areas. That is to say, campus events can still happen. It just doesn't need to be the highest profile of individuals. It can be among the students that are already there, which minimizes the risks and minimizes the target, but keeps the conversations going. So TPUSA can still keep these going without Charlie. It can be handled by local chapters who can carry on these debates and make sure we don't lose momentum. But I suppose it's the debate. I'm sure people are going to say, don't keep doing the events. And
inside with security checking guns at the door.
Not possible.
If they could get targets on the president, then anybody is capable of getting.
They can literally drone bomb your house if they think you're a domestic
but
threat.
let's be real. Like these events that we do, I have to drive in a car to a back entrance, go in and go out with security waiting for me because we were swatted 15 times one year. We've had the bomb squad multiple times. We've had a man show up claiming he was sent by God. We have there's other security issues that I'm not going to go into detail on because they happen every single day. So this is the challenge. Like my wife is obviously extremely worried when we want to do these public culture war shows. We want to bring people and invite them in, and sure, we have security checking people and making sure people aren't coming in with weapons, which I actually don't like. I don't like that we have to do that because of me. But we can't even secure in DC. It's just not, it's not possible. So this is like a major moment in this country that a lot of us thought could happen. We didn't know when or how, but we just really in the back of our minds thought it wasn't going to happen. Even though Phil and I talk about it every single night, there's no off-ramp. It's just, the escalation keeps getting worse. All day. Let me tell you the hardest thing was. We have friends in this space, and the only thing that I wanted to tweet was that Charlie was okay.
Me too.
Even though I was getting people hitting me up, and I got a phone call, and I didn't say anything because I didn't want to believe it.
Yep.
Because the only thing that mattered was that the AP said he was stable. And I got a call from someone, you know, when the story is breaking, and they told me, this is a top level person in the know, he is stable. And I tweeted that. A source has told me that he is stable. And then when I got the next phone call, I didn't say a word because there was nothing that would make me believe it. No, absolutely not. Until everyone else started posting it.
Well, at Postmillennial and Human Events, Charlie Kirk was integral with Human Events. He was a senior contributor. You know, Jack is a senior editor, and Jack and Charlie are obviously really tight. And so, you know, we cover his show a lot, and we watch his cold open every day, and we go down the list. We're like, oh, we covered that, dang, we missed that. You know, we'll go through. But Thomas Stevenson has connections in Utah, and he used to intern on the Hill for Senator Lee. And so, you know, I called him as soon as I heard that the shooting had happened, and he was like, and it's his day off, and he was like, let me see what's going on, let me find out. And he was driving. He pulled over to the side of the road, and I don't know how long he stayed on the side of the road, like trying to figure out what was going on, because he had also alerted us to this event last week. He was like, this looks like it's going to be a pretty good event. You know, I'll see if people I know are going and like what's happening at it. We had reason to believe, based on the information that Tommy was getting, that that it was not going to be good news. We had reason to believe that. And we saw other people posting like, a nurse said this, or hearsay from this person, or whatever. And none of us wanted to write it. And I was like, we're not writing this down until it's confirmed. We're not writing this down. If we're the last outlet to write this down, that's fine. We're not going after anything other than like accuracy on this one. And we were just stunned. Like, one of our office is fully remote, so everybody is all across the country. And one of the things that we do is bring everybody to a Turning Point event, you know, like maybe once or twice a year, get as many people from staff out as we can, and like have a toast and talk in person. And that's just not something that we normally do. Like, it'll be months and months before I physically see anybody that I work with. So yeah, I mean, it definitely hit our newsroom a little hard. And I was so angry. I was so angry when I saw other outlets posting, like writing articles and sharing them, saying that he had passed before they had confirmation. Like, I was just livid.
I was having a hard time when I would see people tweet, there's no way he's going to survive.
I didn't like that
just
either.
Pray. Just
Yes.
believe he's healing in a bed right now. And then, I mean, but prayer works. They call it the placebo effect in science. No one really knows exactly what's happening, but there's something.
I went to church,
but some
and I
injuries,
lit a ton of candles.
some injuries are so great that it's like the spirits can't mend, you know?
I just want to say, you know, final thought on the issue of these live events. Guys, if our streets have become a battlefield, you don't run into the battlefield. If you are standing in an open field and you hear a gunshot, you get down and you find cover. You do not run into it without a plan. My point is, there are more effective means of being involved in this information without risking my life and losing all of the shows that we already do that reach a much wider audience over 2 live shows per month.
And your family needs you.
This is the thing about in war, if you want to consider this like a culture war or whatever, paramilitary action, you have to live like that, Tim. What you were just saying, your pride is irrelevant. It is survival. It is repositioning. It is defense, entrenchment, preparing.
It's not about ego.
I want to pull this up from the Daily Mail. And there's some context to this story. Democrats reject prayers for Charlie Kirk as moment of silence devolves into House floor shouting match. And so my understanding, Libby, you were telling me before that Mike Johnson had a moment of silence for Charlie.
That's right.
And then what happened next? Lauren Boebert wanted to extend it, but the Democrats started yelling.
That's what I could understand. She wasn't mic'd, so it was hard to hear. I saw the clip going viral, and again, it was Tommy who hit me to it, and we went back and looked on C-SPAN and pulled the full clip, which was like 2 minutes. Mike Johnson called for a moment of silence.
Let's play this and see what we have.
The chair would ask that all members present in the chamber and those in the gallery please rise for a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Colorado rise? Shh. Let's, wait a minute. Wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. Shh. The House will be in order. Shh.
Whoa.
The House will be in order. We will join prayer right after this, okay? The chair lays before the House a communication.
So what the Daily Mail reports is that, let's see, chaos devolved when Mike Johnson attempted to lead a prayer for Charlie Kirk. So I think what you were saying was correct. Democrats were against the request for the prayer. So there was a moment of silence. Mm-hmm. When Lauren Boebert requested a moment of prayer, Democrats, some of them began yelling no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Lauren wanted to say things. Is that what it was?
One Democrat blurted out, pass some gun laws.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
That's insane.
Anna Paulina Luna yelled, you effing own this.
Mm-hmm. She's
And then it says, she accused Democrats earlier in the day of being the origin of the violence against Kirk. Quote, I am done with the rhetoric this rotten House and corrupt media has caused. She posted on X shortly after the news of the shooting broke. Every damn one of you who called us fascist did this.
I'm exhausted with the fight rhetoric. I mean, if you actually want to throw down and hurt someone and get hurt, that's when you use that term fight. It's not about arguing with people. And Charlie was the epitome of the way to communicate without fighting, the way to get your job done without fighting. He wasn't a fighter. He didn't need to. He was a communicator. And this Elizabeth Warren being like, we need to fight. Have you ever been in a fight, lady? Do you know what happens with professional fighters want to fight you? Don't do that stuff anymore. We got to cool it down. And I got to start with myself. But it's just this like event.
This is what literally we've been talking about, trying to cool the rhetoric for the better part of 3-4 years or so. I mean, this is something that we've been talking about forever, for as long as IRL has been on. I was listening to people say, "Hey, we've got to cool the rhetoric," or I've been saying it myself. Like, yeah, I don't know what to do, but just saying, "Hey, cool the rhetoric," is not enough.
No, it's like
not
a
sufficient
machine that's pouring this rhetoric into our country, into our airwaves to make people crazy, to destabilize the country and to eat ourselves.
There's a significant portion of the population that have been radicalized, like currently on the left.
Oh,
right?
yeah. COVID, the kids that had masks on during COVID.
They were kids. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about college students and young adults that have been radicalized. The person that shot Charlie, obviously we don't know who it was, but it's likely that it was a young adult. Not necessarily, but it was likely that it was. But they were a leftist, likely a leftist who believed that Charlie Kirk had all these terrible views. Where did they come up with that idea? When honestly, again, Charlie's views were very standard boilerplate Republican, right?
Moderate American conservative, traditional. Not particularly extreme.
It is not extremist to say it's good for men and women to be married and have kids.
So,
It's-
so Occupy
Have faith.
Democrats,
Yeah.
Occupy Democrats on their Instagram have multiple anti-Charlie Kirk posts that they have put up today, including, yes, he really said this, no one should be assassinated, but that doesn't change the fact that he was a hateful jerk who spread nothing but division and ill will towards his fellow man.
I mean, the
So
dude debated
after
Bosch.
he died.
These are, if you look at the timestamps, 12 minutes ago, they have posted that. 33 minutes ago, they
Look at
posted.
that. We've got it. Look at
Charlie
this.
Kirk spent his entire life disparaging immigrants, disrespecting women, and blaming black folks, only to get shot in one of the whitest places on earth. As a woman who went on his show a fair number of times, and he had nothing but respect for me. He was kind, he was generous with himself and with his intellect, and he was, he was a really good man. I don't see how you can say that about him at all. And he took everybody's opinions. He talked to everybody about everything.
There was a tweet. Someone said the moderate right died today. All of
Yeah.
these comments on this Instagram, I don't want to show them, and I
They're
don't.
horrifying.
But if you want to be radicalized,
Yeah, go to Blue Sky. I went over
Don't.
there to see that.
No
Typed
way.
in Charlie Kirk and see
gonna
what was up.
delete my
After
account.
like 14 posts, I had to X out and almost vomiting. It was just, and it's just like that exists. That's out there. If you want to look for it, you're gonna find it.
And it's not actually uncommon either. It's not like these are fringe people, right? Like there are considerable people that are a considerable amount of people that are in public life that are on Blue Sky that will say terrible, horrible things. You know,
It's so easy to do, and it has such repercussions on it that are yet to be understood by the power,
Well, I mean-
human power to speak and to propel it with mass media. It's so new.
you combine that kind of rhetoric with the political leaning that is most likely to be someone that has some kind of mental illness, and you're going to get this type of reaction. The left loves people that are miserable, that are unhappy with their life, that don't have a foundation in any kind of faith, that don't have a family, because people that have family, people that have faith, people that are happy do not engage in political violence. They don't engage in revolutionary activities. The left needs crazy people. They need people that don't have the same stuff to lose that normal people do, right? Like if you have a family, if you have kids, you're not going to go do something crazy like this because you have kids to take care of. If you have a job that you care about, that's providing for you or providing for your family, you're not going to do something crazy like that because you have a job, you have stuff to do, you have things in your life. They need nihilistic, desperate people that have nothing to lose. And so the crazier the more extreme they can find people, the more people they can find on the margins of society and tell them that the problem is, Christians that are having kids, the happier they are.
That's something that Dr. Jordan Peterson used to always say, like, why are more people not speaking out? Because they're busy leading their lives, and raising their kids, I mean, is that something that you find?
I'm looking at my
That's
Facebook.
why we need leaders. Like Charlie, who are just masters of communicating, led their generation. I mean, think back to when I was in college. I mean, I graduated in 2012. Turning Point was just beginning to start coming to campus. It wasn't at the campus I went to. But the minute that changed in 2013, 2014, that's when you started to see some of the changes in polling and attitudes. And you've seen it more and more with Gen Z. I mean, that they understand what's at stake for public policy, and it's because of a lot of it is because of this work that Turning Point has done.
Yeah, they were out on campuses. They were doing so much to get out the vote last year. They were doing stuff too, weren't they? Where it was like, come to this event, this Turning Point event with Don Jr., and vote early, drop off your mail-in ballot right here, and then come on in. And like that was your ticket in, was dropping off your ballot. That seemed really effective. That was a campus event.
I went to my Facebook just to see what people were saying. And while there certainly are some awful statements, a lot of the lefty activist types that I've known since Occupy are calling out the younger left and the leftists calling for violence. And I respect that. And I appreciate that. These are people who have followed me on Facebook, and I've followed for a very, very long time. And they're very it was populist left Occupy stuff. So they hate Trump. And I see a handful of posts where they're saying these people are evil. Charlie did nothing wrong. Like, he was just a guy that they didn't like. And I wish, and I these Occupy Democrats and this blue sky stuff is what's terrifying. But I feel like some of these older folks, at least these more, I guess, Occupy-centered people are shocked, and they seem to be angry about Charlie Kirk's death. So I'm glad to see it.
The vapid, violent nihilism is just, it's not a sustainable movement. That doesn't mean it can't take over a government, but it doesn't really give people hope. It doesn't really unify and rally people without fear. So when things are good, it sort of falls away.
So there's I want to pull this up for you guys. So we have this tweet from Luke Rudkowski showing the building where they say that the shot was taken from. I don't think it was there, was it? I'm not sure. 200 meters?
200 meters
Right.
is not professional.
Well, it was 455 feet. Luke says, whoever this was, it was a professional hit, but there's a response. Alexander Graves says 200 meters is not a far shot. However, it was organized by more than one person. The old man who threw himself at police saying, shoot me, gave pause on the search for the shooter, allowing him to get away. The individual who asked the question about the mass shooting was timely. It was not professional. It was an M700 chambered in .308. It was organized by communist leftists. Now, we don't know that for sure, but there were these posts where someone said, Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. I really hope. And then he said, yeah, I'm not going to read it. And then he replied with let's just say something big will happen tomorrow. And this is one of the first videos that emerged. He said, I have the right to remain silent. Mm-hmm. I didn't see the video of someone yelling, shoot me, but I'd heard that quite a bit. It was
him.
It was him?
Yes.
There's a video of it?
While he was being, escorted away by officers.
Let me see if I can find it.
He was released, this guy.
This guy was the first person detained and then released.
But the first thing I noticed right away when they released him was whatever it is he did that resulted in him being the guy grabbed, it allowed the shooter to escape.
Sure did, yeah.
Whether intentional or otherwise, I have no idea, but that distraction.
Could he have been intentionally part of a distraction?
Yes,
the argument that some people are making.
People are saying, yeah.
And then there was the one guy on Fox News talking about this guy saying that it definitely couldn't have been him and that he wasn't capable.
Yeah, okay, we have this video.
Hey, was that you? We don't know if it's him or not.
And that what's the cop saying? We don't know if it's him or not. And he's yelling, shoot me.
Like Lee Harvey Oswald.
That's so weird.
Yeah, like Lee Harvey Oswald, like what they did to Lee during the perp walk.
And then they shot him. That's messed up, you guys.
So the conspiracy theory.
Shoot me! Was that you? We don't know if it's him or not.
The conspiracy theory is that it was organized. He was the distraction. The real shooter escaped. When the first thing I heard was that...
In which case, why would they have let him go?
Because there's no evidence he did anything. The first thing I heard was that somebody stood up and started yelling questions at Charlie and then shot him. And that's, in the first video that I saw, it was bad, but it didn't look as bad as the second video. But then, what ended up happening was I saw this. Luke had reached out to me and said, hey, there's another video, and this is not a handgun. This is not a guy in the crowd. And this became extremely strange, that why would this happen, this shooting, and then some guy be perceived as by anybody of being the shooter, start yelling, shoot me, and I have the right to remain silent, which only served to assist. I'm not saying intentionally, but the actions he took did help the shooter escape, or who we believe to be the guy on the roof running.
That was my take, too.
If you want, we could find the Fox News interview, too, of him talking to, like, his buddy, saying that it definitely wasn't this guy and that he named this guy specifically.
If you want to try and find it,
yeah, I could send it to you. One of the angles here that I wanted to hit on, that I feel like we haven't touched on, was the morbidity and ghoulishness of social media as soon as this was coming out, and how quickly people felt the need to spread around how many different angles they could find of this young man being shot and killed, and analyzing, the volumes of blood coming out.
Oh, screen went up. Was it this guy?
Yes, it was this guy.
All right. So this is Fox News.
This witness on the scene. Backstage, and I turned and looked, and they were arresting a guy by the name of George Zim. Yeah, I know the guy. I don't think he did it. I think they arrested the wrong guy. I think whoever did it was a good shooter, a sharp shooter. It was one shot right directly to the heart, and we need to find out who did this. I think there should be a research completely done that took place hours, maybe a day, before anything went on. Who could be there and pull that trigger and do it? And I don't think it was George Zim. He was poor, broke. He maybe was on medication, a little bit loony moon, maybe a perfect person to pick and say they did it, but I don't think he did it at all.
So at this point, but did you see him taken into custody? Did you see him with any kind of thing in his hand, any device in his hand or anything like that?
Yeah, I saw when they actually put the handcuffs behind his back. Okay. I followed them.
All right, we're gonna go to Jason Chase.
Wow.
So that George Zinn guy, just for some context, he was a guy that called in a bomb threat on the, I'm right over here, a guy that called the bomb threat in on the 2013 Salt Lake City Marathon, and everyone thought that was going to be this guy, but that ended up being complete false red herring, had nothing to do with him. That's who this guy's talking about.
Man,
a lot of weird.
Yeah.
You mentioned you mentioned the ghoulishness of social media.
Well, people were like passing around the clip, and this is gaining millions of views. And this is the thing: we are drawn to sex, drugs, and violence. As people, as human beings, we feel the need, and like people are digging around for all these morbid clips, and they're racking up hundreds of millions of views, and it's we're catching this guy in the most intimate moments of his life, bleeding out in front of crowds of thousands of people, recording him, and because he's this sort of celebrity, there's just something deeply wrong and strange, and it feels like something we shouldn't be viewing in the capacity that we are able to do.
I agree. That people have been saying maybe that this is like a spiritual demonic war that we're in. I wonder about this, and maybe it's a bit esoteric, but is that maybe part of the reason why we don't torture criminals to death anymore, that we don't watch them scream for hours, is because that's actually creating a demonic energy when you have hate and rage. And yesterday when people kept seeing videos of that girl getting her neck stabbed by that dude on the bus, that it was generating this bloodlust in people I've never seen before in mass like this. Well, let me finish. And that it's creating, that it's setting up a spiritual stage for things like this. And that's why being calm is important. And why not to just give into the fervor right away? We got the guy. Let's string him up.
But I want to make sure we clarify. I think this event was planned long before the story of Irina Zarutska became a national conversation.
Yes, I think that that's true. And I also think that, as opposed to capital punishment as I am, because I don't think it's up to man to take lives, I think that job belongs to God. Although in this case, I was kind of buoyed by Governor Cox's words, that they still have the death penalty in Utah. But, we're all human.
It's real hard to be morally consistent, I'll tell you that.
It sure is. It sure is. But I think there's something to be said for public execution in terms of it deterring people. I mean, you used to be able to see people get executed by death penalty by the electric chair, right? Albert Camus talks about witnessing a public hanging. You certainly in the colonies in Massachusetts, Nathaniel Hawthorne talks about public hanging as a means of execution, and it's in the Scarlet Letter, and it's brutal. It's brutal just to read about. It's brutal to read when Camus talks about it. And I think there's something to be said for showing the punishment that comes to the perpetrators of these crimes, as opposed to just constantly seeing the blood of innocent victims spilled on our streets. I mean, if you want bloodlust, go after the killers. Stop going after the victims every time. We have seen so much blood in the past few days, and the videos, I don't want to see more innocent people killed. If you want to satisfy a bloodlust, America, stage your executions. We hear about executions, we hear about Florida's killing people. What was it, Alabama recently, or Texas, places that do this. I didn't grow up in a place that does that very often. And so we don't see it. We just read about it the next day, and we read about how perhaps the families of the victims were there to witness it, because often they're invited to witness something like that. And I would far rather see public execution used as a kind of deterrent, kind of like Tim always says with the gang member in the diaper being forced to crawl down. What is it, Roosevelt? Roosevelt, yeah.
One like that.
I'd rather see that. I'd rather see someone in the stocks, as barbaric as that is, than see, more of these blood fountains of the innocent soaking our Twitter feeds.
I'm open to public executions. I'm open to that, to showing people like this is
We
what
used
you
to do
get.
that.
But torture executions, I don't like stringing
No,
it out for
it was,
hours.
It was a
and
hanging. It was an
a
instant death.
swift kill, but
That's what it's
making someone
always
suffer on
intended
death.
to be. It's
Well,
always intended to be that.
Nah, well, only
electric-
recently did we stop torturing in mass so graciously.
And in what way? What do you mean?
Well, until like 1680,
did they do?
1720. Put people on a wheel and turn them until their bodies broke open. They put
All of that kind of stuff, sure. But
I think a lot of that
tend
is
to do that in
apocryphal.
modern America.
I think
There
so.
would
A
be
lot of the
people drawn
ancient
and
torture
quartered,
methods that
but-
people talk about were actually fiction
maybe too, yeah.
because it's impractical. Nobody's going to waste money on
Oh, they do it for joy. They do it out of sadism.
There was one thing the treadmill, for instance, was prisoners were forced to walk on a wheel it was a mill. It would grind grains, and you'd walk for all day until you collapsed.
There's one. I could talk about the torture deaths. They put a
don't-
rat
we
in a
don't-
hot bucket, a metal bucket stuck to the guy's stomach, and then heat the bucket up. The
that's
rat
good.
digs a hole in the
I
guy.
don't-
I'm
there's
done.
no
I
reason
don't want
to
to talk
do
about
that.
that.
We do have, ladies and gentlemen, we have a statement from the president. Donald Trump, just about 10 minutes ago, published this. Let's play it.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight, all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith, and we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals.
It's good that he's saying
This kind
Yes.
of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now. My administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. From the attack on my life in Butler, Pennsylvania last year, which killed a husband and father, to the attacks on ICE agents, to the vicious murder of a healthcare executive in the streets of New York, to the shooting of House Majority Leader Steve Scalise and 3 others.
Damn, he's going
Radical
for
left political violence has hurt too many innocent people and taken too many lives. Tonight, I ask all Americans to commit themselves to the American values for which Charlie Kirk lived and died, the values of free speech, citizenship, the rule of law, and the patriotic devotion and love of God. Charlie was the best of America, and the monster who attacked him was attacking our whole country. An assassin tried to silence him with a bullet, but he failed because together we will ensure that his voice, his message, and his legacy will live on for countless generations to come. Today, because of this heinous act, Charlie's voice has become bigger and grander than ever before, and it's not even close. May God bless his memory, may God watch over his family, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
I just want to say, it kind of seemed like Trump was holding back a little emotion there in the beginning.
Well, they were friends, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just a great statement from Donald Trump. I appreciate it. It was good.
Really strong.
I mean,
to be said.
It's like MLK. This is like, why would anyone kill that guy? And then it's just a political power game.
Because they want the reaction. Like we talk, like they want the right to overreact. The point is, if they go after him, the right will get incensed, and then the right will overreact, and then they can say, we're victims, feel bad for us. They have been losing and losing and losing and losing. They need something to turn the tide back to them again, so that way they will win these political engagements. Or
I think
they've lost over and over.
More. I think there's a little more to it than that. I think that the left in America right now.
Also, because he's effective.
Yeah, the left in America right now can't stand that one by one the stupid things that they have imposed on us are being dismantled.
Our team is getting death threats right now.
And
what?
Yeah.
And there are demons among us, and these people are demonically possessed.
I'm not gonna name people.
No, I mean,
I think that's true.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm being told that our team is getting death threats actively right now.
Well,
this was a beautiful speech from the president. However, I don't think it convinced one person who believes that the president is a Nazi that he is no longer a Nazi.
No, I thought that also, like, he's
I don't think that's
reinforcing their
convincing anybody on the left, I guess.
unlove or something. Like his behavior, they're like, oh, there goes the Nazi saying the Nazi thing again. I was getting that look on what he was doing just then. Like if you hate him and you've already decided you hate him and anything he says is a lie and it's actually evil, like no amount of outpouring of love. Well, I can't say no amount, but it's hard for a speech like this from Donald Trump to change someone. And if he was holding back emotions, you know, like what's he going to do? Come on TV and break down and cry? Maybe that was like his third attempt at making the video.
Right. But it does seem early on like you can kind of see it a little bit. I mean, they were friends.
Getting back to the comments earlier, I mean, the radical left, they can't operate in the sphere that Charlie Kirk was operating in effectively because their policies are nonsense. That was Charlie Kirk would just run circles around them, and that's why he was an icon. And this is a huge loss.
I know. You know, I was saying this earlier. This will immortalize the vision of Charlie Kirk. They have martyred him. He was a man of faith. There will be murals, and there will be people sharing his message. But he was more than that, and this is what has me worried, is that he was a powerful business mind. He knew how to build a machine better than anybody else. And that's
an amazing job.
They go after him not just because of his effectiveness, but he was once in 1,000 years kind of guy. This
is a generational.
Yeah.
Well, he was so courageous. I'll give an example from, I'm from Wyoming, and the debates we've had over the last 15 years as I've been involved in public policy. So we're in COVID, and things are shut down. In May, things start to open back up. We were, trying to get things moving again. Charlie Kirk comes to the Wyoming State GOP convention and he opens up and he says, this is probably the biggest event that has happened in the world in the last 2 months. And we are going to reopen back up. I mean, he had such courage, charisma, and that was a huge moment. I can tell you where I'm from. I mean, that moment in the COVID debate was a inflection point.
We were talking about it a little bit before the show. Charlie Kirk is probably the second most influential person on the right behind President Trump. And it's really hard to exaggerate his influence between Turning Point and Turning Point Action and all the people he employs and the cultural relevance of his show and these campus events and how much he fundraises for different people. And he was involved in all of these different campaigns. Do we have something pulled up here?
I just pulled up a tweet. I don't know. What were you saying?
Anyways, keep going. Continue.
No, it's just he was probably the most influential person on the right behind the president. What do you guys think?
I think he was. I think that was maybe why he was targeted. If he was targeted. Well, obviously he was targeted. But if the political machine was afraid, who's coming after Trump? It ain't J.D. Vance. Guy's cool, but he doesn't have the charisma of Trump like Charlie.
Well, but I mean, Vance...
Give him a little time.
Yeah, I mean...
Vance is the vice president, so...
Yeah,
Vance is clearly next in line in 2028.
But who's the next?
Charlie Kirk was only 31.
But I know. But Charlie's the guy that moves mountains. He's the guy that...
So maybe
people believe and will follow to the end.
In 13, 14 years,
Yeah, I mean,
he was going to be the king of that political
and
mountain.
he kind of got Trump elected. Like not single-handedly, but
he did
efforts
a great deal.
I think he
Turning
did.
Point.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think he did.
The
He got
RNC
out
dropped-
the youth vote. He got out the youth vote.
Yeah, RNC had
Him
failed.
and like Scott Pressler.
He made it fun.
Yeah,
Like the videos of him at these events at colleges were something you wanted to be a part of. It's incredible, and that's what they feared about him.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He built this machine. That's hard enough. He built a culture, and that's hard enough. He's one of the most effective political figures of our generation or of the past 100 years.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that the reason that they went after him is because of how effective he was. I mean, how long was Turning Point's an organization?
2014.
5 years, 6 years, something like that, or was it? I think it started because he was 17 in 2011. There's a tweet going around where Charlie Kirk was tweeting at Glenn Beck in 2011, and he was 17 years
2012.
old. So 2012. Oh, really? 2012. Wow. So
2012 at launch,
he
June
was
5th.
18 years old when he started Turning Point. You know, I mean, so it's like in just over 10 years, he built this massive, massive, influential organization that, you know, without question, had an impact on getting the president elected.
2023 revenue for TPUSA. What's your guess?
500 mil.
$81 million. 500.
I thought they were doing well. You know, so
That's incredible.
What I like about Charlie is that he wasn't really into spectacle. I mean, he knew how to lay it out, but he didn't seek it. He didn't like try and get anything. He was just being himself, and people believed in him so much that they supported him building an arena for it.
The other thing I think that was really effective in Charlie's message is he would come on college campuses. I mean, I'm a millennial, right? And in time I was growing up, it was all about college. You had to go to college. Charlie would come and he would say, look, if you're going to be here, you need to try to dedicate yourself to what you want to be doing. Try to have a direction. And it's not necessarily, college isn't necessarily for everybody. And I think in terms of moving towards technical schools, some of the work the Trump administration is doing on that, Charlie is a great communicator of that point, and it's the truth. It was another thing that he really brought to the equation.
He went to college. He just did it in a way on his terms.
Right.
He didn't go to school.
He was certainly not uneducated. He was
like
extremely
so articulate.
educated.
He went to college in the way that is cool. You go there and debate the kids on the
Right,
campus.
and it was his own personal great book series.
His what?
His own personal great book series. You know, great books. Like he just read everything.
He said you need to be focused, and he was a great communicator of the Christian faith and the love of Jesus and prayer. And I mean, that was one of his messages back in April when he came for one of his live events in Wyoming. He focused. I remember one exchange where that really came out.
Charlie's wife and children were there.
They were in Utah?
They were in attendance.
They don't always go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
He was. I agree with what you're saying about his devotion to the Lord, to the Christian ethos, but he was also like open to letting me splay out all my disbelief, and he just listened. He loved it that I was willing to challenge him, and I wish we'd gone deeper.
Yeah, you frustrated him.
I'd just gotten started, baby. I was ready to frustrate him
He was very frustrated
all
by
the
you.
way down.
Ian fell off the stage at Turning Point USA because he didn't look where he was walking.
Yeah, didn't do a once over the stage before the show. My bad. Pilot error.
I thought Ian was going to be seriously hurt because it's like a 5-foot drop. He was walking backwards and just off the stage.
It's magnetically elevated. They call it effortless movement in that religion in the East somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? Taoism? Effortless movement is like a blessing in Taoism. You move with the flow. But the energy lifted me up as I fell. That was my point.
I don't know what happens tomorrow.
I thought about Charlie was alive yesterday. Like, I'm thinking 8 hours ago he was fine, or 10 hours ago.
He was tweeting. We were just talking about the murder of Irina Zarutska and this random killing. And the media, Van Jones called him a race monger, called him out. The joke I made last night about Van Jones was that he singled out Charlie Kirk when we're all sitting right here. We had a bunch of people on the show. It's like each and every one of us is criticized in all the same way. And I was joking. But Van Jones was saying Charlie Kirk is a race monger for daring to bring this up.
That was shocking that he did that. We ran a story on that because I thought that was absolutely out of control that he did that. And all of these people claiming white supremacists are the root of all evil. And I was on Charlie Kirk's show this morning with Andrew Colvett, his producer, talking exactly about Irina Zarutska and talking about all of this stuff and this rhetoric about, white supremacists commit all of these crimes. And we were looking at the data and it's not there. Like the data just isn't there, that they're referring to. They're talking about 2022 when white supremacy was defined by the Biden administration to be like anything, right? They had the Pulse nightclub shooting?
Yep.
They had that listed as white supremacy. And it's like that.
Islamic terror attack.
Right. Yeah. Like all of this stuff. And, or maybe it wasn't that way. It was in Colorado. Anyway, I don't have all of my facts straight on it. But the Biden administration the Biden FBI said that white supremacy and white supremacist domestic extremism was like the biggest threat facing the country. And that was just a blatant outright lie. They were going after, that FBI was targeting Christians. Like we have the memos. Jim Jordan looked into it. That was literally happening. And then just a few years later, these leftists who are no longer in power, who no longer have the deep state at their command, who no longer have the FBI to run cover for their racism, are out here killing honorable men.
I was thinking yesterday about crime stats because there was a kind of a conversation last night. And one of the things I noticed about crime stats, like say in the past, 30 times more crime was committed by black men in this neighborhood. But the error is when people's like, therefore, you as a black man in the future are 30 times more likely to commit a crime. No, the past doesn't dictate future behavior. It indicates what happened.
Well, and every man gets to make his own decisions.
Yeah. Kids need to know that. They should not feel like because I'm in this, it means that. It's like you can extricate yourself from the situation. You can change. You're not a statistic.
Yeah.
But also there's a correlation. And, why is there a correlation of violence in certain communities? It could be due to, I think a lot of it is people want to throw money at poverty and get them out of poverty. But it's like, what does the money buy? And the main thing it should be buying is nutrition, because generationally, if you have nutrition, your kids will develop IQ.
Well, they don't like that either, right? I mean, the leftists are angry at RFK Jr. for doing that.
Well, your kids will develop IQ, and over time, people with high IQ will become creative, and they'll solve the problems around them, lifting themselves out of poverty naturally.
So I want to share with you guys this clip
environment
from
we're in that
MSNBC. This of course is before they knew that he had died. But I want to show you this. MSNBC has issued an apology. I believe it was for this clip, but let me play this clip for you.
Yes,
then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
For his
Turning Point
Unreal.
USA has confirmed that he was shot. And there are a number of
You can't say these awful things and not expect an awful reaction. So MSNBC issued a statement. During our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dowd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for his statements, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. It's funny that they're now issuing these apologies, but the entire time that MSNBC lied and claimed that Trump was a spy of a foreign country, that his supporters were white supremacists, that have bubbled up to this degree, they only now, after years of pushing this, say, oops, about one thing one guy said that today.
Yeah. And they've pushed this same rhetoric day in, day out. Almost every single one of their
Since like
on-air
2012.
personalities has been pushing this day in and day out. And they will swear up and down that the right are guilty of stochastic terrorism, while they have done everything they can to demonize everyone on the right. Again, Charlie Kirk, who is very milquetoast, average, everyday Republican, not extreme in any way, and they will call him all of these horrible things because he has opinions that are different to theirs. And it's unconscionable that this is that they continue to do it. Because they're going to do it tomorrow. Like, they're not going to stop. Like, I wish they would. But the same people are going to make the same comments tomorrow. You see it on X all the time. The only silver lining that I see is most of our politicians, most of the Democrat politicians, have had reasonable responses. Not all of them. AOC has said some garbage stuff, and a few others.
How about on the House floor? That was disgusting.
Exactly. Not all of them, but most of them have had reasonable responses to this. A few of them have said, well, it's a gun control problem, which is infuriating. But thankfully, at least the politicians are smart enough to have a reasonable response. But when it comes to pundits and other people on the left, it is the same garbage celebrating this murder. It's disheartening and it's disgusting.
The comment from many people throughout my earlier stream and many in the chat right now is civil war. There was a comment someone made earlier that I should just put it like this. You go on X, you look in the chat, everybody is saying that this is a catalyst moment. I have an X post that's going viral. I'm not going to read it. It has 15 million views, 15,800 retweets, reposts, in which a Democratic socialist celebrates the death of Charlie, says it's good, advocates for more. And my concern is this sentiment celebrating it. They celebrated Luigi Mangione, as y'all were pointing out earlier, that they're going to, when they find out who this shooter is, they're going to make him a millionaire. They're going to give him, he's going to want for nothing. They're going to celebrate him like some kind of hero. I went to Northern Ireland, and they have the peace wall. On one side is pro-Israel, and the other side is pro-Palestine. And I asked one of the locals, how does that make sense, Ireland? And he says, none of it makes sense. It's just one side hates the other. He showed me this location where I don't know the full details. I'm sure those of you that are watching know much better than I. But it was a memorial to citizens who were massacred. Several guys with guns during the Troubles just went and just shot up some public location, killing a bunch of innocent people. And one side celebrated it. They did not care who was killed or why they were killed, just that their enemy was killed. These people on the left don't know anything about Charlie. There's a really great video called This Video, I believe it's called This Video Will Make You Angry by CGP Grey. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. And he explains that online, there are communities that are forming. And he makes this point. He says, no matter which community you think this is about, it is not about you. I am not talking about you and those you're disagreeing with. But he points out that it seems like there's two groups yelling at each other. That's not what's happening. In fact, what's happening is there are two groups yelling to each other about the other. These leftists don't actually know what Charlie believes. They don't know what he stands for. They only know what was told to them by another psychopath about Charlie, which is likely incorrect. This leads them to radicalization, where they then go and kill a good man. I'm not the only one who deals with this. Other prominent personalities deal with this. But we recently started working with a guy who said when people found out he was working with us, they started saying, oh, you got to watch out for Tim Pool because he does this, that, this, and otherwise, and saying things about me that were just completely false. And he was like, that's not true. It's like, I met him. None of that's true. What are you saying? But they just make it up. They tell each other, and they create a fake image of who Charlie is, who we are, what we believe. They get radicalized by it. Then they are told by MSNBC and the New York Times and CNN and Van Jones, white supremacists, fascists, hate mongers. Let me put it like this. Back in the day, if there was like a neo-Nazi guy, literally with tattoos, walking around causing problems, people in the community would be like, hey man, we don't want you around here. Get out of here. A genuine, violent white supremacist screaming and yelling and threatening black people or whatever. People are going to be like, get out of here. We don't want that. We don't tolerate that. That's still true to this day among most of us. We don't want to tolerate. There was a man who showed up to a Patriot Prayer event several years ago in Portland, screaming the N-word and throwing up Hitler salutes. And the Patriot Prayer kicked him out. They said, get out of here. We don't want any of that. We don't want violent racists coming in here. That feeling you get when you're confronted by a psychopath, that feeling that you understand of why you would not want to associate with that person, these radicalized leftists are told that about you, about me, about Ian, about Libby, about Phil. So imagine the most vile person you can think of that you would not want to associate with. The left genuinely believes you are that. And when you go to them and say, you're not a white supremacist and you actually don't like white supremacy, they're also trained. You're lying to them to trick them. So there's nothing you can say to convince them. So what happens? Charlie Kirk is killed by these radicals. And on X right now, all of these viral posts are lying about who he is and using it to justify why they did what they did and to encourage more.
What do we do about it?
Man, I wish I had answers, dude.
Yeah.
Think about it like a global war between communism and liberalism. And we're like pawns on the board, man. But how do you win that war? And then I guess you can also think of it from the ground up. You know, eat healthy, be kind to your kids.
Amen. I hate to quote communists, but to quote the most famous communist, Mao, political power comes down the barrel of the gun. And I'm unsettled. Am I misquoting?
No, go on, please.
I'm unsettled by how unfortunately true it is, so it seems, that the difference a disenfranchised lunatic could make, a motivated person, a person who's motivated and armed, how much damage they could do. It was proven with the guy who got a target on the president. You know, we've been seeing this with Luigi Mangione. We've been seeing this with the embassy workers, the Israeli embassy workers in D.C. We've been seeing attacks on Steve Scalise. That was quite a while ago. But, you know, the damage one motivated person can do is so detrimental to the fabric of our society. I feel like this will inevitably lead to more political violence.
Well, on the point of political violence, right? We should not endorse political violence from individuals, but it's worth noting Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the office of the president, and the government has a monopoly on violence. The government. Well, they do. Yes, legally they do.
Legally, but clearly not in practice here.
What are you saying that they don't? So listen.
I'm saying the government doesn't have a monopoly on power because we have the Second Amendment and people get shut up all the time.
The idea of a monopoly on violence means that if they use violence, they will not actually go to jail. You're just trying to distract what I'm saying with BS. The government has a monopoly on violence. Okay, that's not actually in question. Whether or not they execute it or use it, that depends on whether or not the president or the Congress or the DOJ will do their duty. The point that I'm trying to make is while the conservatives have control of the government, they need to exercise power in whatever ways they can. So I don't see a problem with actually trying to use the government to punish people that are engaging in inflammatory rhetoric because they're trying to incite violence, right? If you're out here saying, oh, Trump's a Nazi, Trump's a Nazi, Trump's a Nazi, the point of that, the intent, the reason they're saying it is because they want to incite this type of behavior. That's incitement and that's illegal. So maybe the government should start saying, unless you actually have some kind of evidence that someone's a Nazi, maybe the government should go and say, you're actually, by calling people Nazi all the time, you're trying to incite violence and we're going to arrest you.
Well, that's antithetical. That's basically what Trump just said. Those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now.
So maybe the government should exercise the power that it has.
So what? Maybe the government should make it illegal to call people Nazis? I'm not happy with how this played out, obviously, but I don't think there's a clear-cut solution.
Law.
I don't think there's a clear-cut solution for the government to play here. Wait, if I could finish. I don't think the government could have a clear solution here. Again, when you have a motivated, deranged individual who wants to kill somebody with a firearm. We have the Second Amendment in this country.
I'm not talking about taking anyone's firearm, no one's rights away.
No, but Phil, I'm trying to explain that I don't think the government could do anything here given the freedoms of our country and the motivations of a deranged lunatic.
Incitement to violence
Perhaps
is
saying
illegal.
Punch a Nazi is incitement to violence.
But Libby, you're not seriously advocating that we make it illegal to say punch a Nazi.
It's already illegal.
It is incitement to violence. We don't have to do anything.
Incitement to violence is illegal.
If you tell someone, if you say in a single sentence, so this is the problem. That's why they call it stochastic terrorism. The limit of free speech is a clear and imminent threat, giving someone instruction, time and place, and a target. If you just say, you should do this thing, it's not illegal. So punch a Nazi in and of itself is not incitement. If you said in the same sentence, Phil is a Nazi, punch a Nazi, then it'd be like you're instructing
Trump. When they're saying Trump's a Nazi.
But you guys, that's what we've been getting. We've been getting time and place, right? Like when I've gone out to protests and covered stuff, and when I've gone out to protests to speak up for women, right? And you have people there going, punch a turf, and like, I'm going to get you when you walk away.
They're layering it.
But I'm right there. I'm who they mean.
The left has successfully navigated our legal system to destroy us every step of the way. So you will get 100 people on one side of the street screaming, punch a Nazi, which they know is protected. And the other side will point at Elaad and say, that's the Nazi. Neither of them have spoken the singular thing. And then they are telling everybody without saying it individually. And we saw this in action in 2017 at Trump's first inauguration, when they instructed everybody, these direct action far left groups, to wear all black, masks, jeans, hoodies, etc., show up in D.C., and engage in acts of violence. And then they did. They set a limousine on fire. They set fires in the street. They smashed windows. They attacked people. They flipped garbage cans. And when the police arrested the group surrounding them all, that group filed a lawsuit against the government and won. Because in the courts, our liberal, beautiful justice system, despite looking in the eyes of all of these people they knew intentionally wore these clothes and brought weapons and damaged and destroyed, they said, our legal system requires you prove the individual did it. And when the police officer would say, I saw that guy do it, and I grabbed him, and I arrested him, they would just simply say to the judge or the jury, how many other people there were wearing the exact same clothes? To which the officer says, 200. And they go, is it then not reasonable to conclude this officer may have grabbed the wrong person by mistake who is innocent? And they'll go, yep. So it is now it is no longer beyond a reasonable doubt. In fact, it's hard to know whether or not the cop was right when he said he grabbed the right guy because too many people are wearing the same clothes. So the government said, charge them with conspiracy. They did this intentionally together to cover up the crimes committed by the people in their group who intended to engage in violence. And they failed. Then, because of the arrest, the organizers, and I think it was probably like the ACLU, the Lawyers Guild, one of these liberal organizations, progressive organizations, sued the city. They won, I think it was $1 million. This system cannot survive. Now, I love the English common law system that we have that makes total sense to protect the innocent. But communists looked at our plan and said, we can find every hole and break it. And they are. And there's no simple solution. This is why there is weak men make hard times make strong men make good times, because there will come a time when a culture begins to break down. Everything we're describing is a bifurcation of American culture where one side says we must destroy the other. The other side says, please leave me alone or slow down their Democrats. They are actively working through our legal system, breaking it at every step, knowing how to exploit it. And we sit back and say there's nothing we can do about it. Because the reality is, if we decide you can't call people Nazis, the people over there that are screaming punch a Nazi, you know what? We're going to arrest you now because it is incitement. The people over there saying those are Nazis, we're going to call that incitement. They're going to clap and cheer because they've won. They've destroyed our form of government. They've proved that we can't make it work.
They've already done that then.
That's my point. That's my point.
So
the reaction then is National Guard goes in the streets and we are in the worst place imaginable, but at least they're not shooting us anymore.
Well, I mean, that is better than people shooting us or getting into gunfights, right? Like if the option is you have to use the authority in the government. What?
No, finish your point.
No, well, if the option is that the power that the government has cannot be exercised, then you're leaving people with no other recourse other than to take the law into their own hands. And that's not what we want to see.
We don't want to go in either direction of anarcho-tyranny or tyranny. And so the argument right now is Trump should deploy the National Guard to stop crime, and it is horrifying that he has to. The ACLU press release, April 26, 2021, D.C. to pay $1.6 million to settle claims from 2017 Inauguration Day demonstrators. People who showed up. I was there. I was in the group that got arrested. I got released because while I was in this group of largely violent far-left extremists, journalists who were in there screaming at the cops at the top of their lungs and spitting on them, not intentionally spitting, but like they're screaming and spits flying out. I went to the side on the right. I said to the officer standing there that was holding the entire group in with my hands up, just want to let you know I'm a journalist. I have my press card with me. And the cop looks past me and he just nods. And then I said, if possible, I'd like to notify a supervisor. And then the cop ignores me. Eventually, one of the guys behind him says, okay, hold on. He yells to a cop. Lieutenant Washington walks over. I remember his name. And this is 2017. And he says, what do you need? And I said, I just want to let you know I am a journalist. I have my press credentials with me. He goes, doesn't matter. You're all under arrest. And I said, I'm just letting you know that's my job. After about an hour, he walks over. There's a local news crew. And he says, who are the journalists? And I wave. They wave. He removes us all and he lets us go. Because that's how you handle it. Journalists who were with the extremists, who masquerade as journalists, are screaming in the face of the cops. They got arrested and then claimed their rights were violated. Being with the protesters and screaming in the face of cops is not going to get you. So you shouldn't have been arrested, fine. But I was there. I watched these people set fires. I watched them smash windows. They all wore the same clothes. I know many of these people from Occupy. I have been in their meetings where they say black bloc tactics. We all dress the same because then they can't convict us. And they got away with it. And they got paid $1.6 million. A system like that will not survive. And that's what we're dealing with right now.
Secretary of State Gray, what do you think about all this stuff? How are we supposed to handle cases like this?
Well, I think, for one, I think Charlie, what he did with the debate on the college campuses, I understand what you're saying about live events earlier, Tim, but what you talked about very eloquently about your show, the audience you have, the audience Charlie had with this show, which we had on our stations in Wyoming, because we have stations, and we syndicated his show for on those AM stations. That is a big part of the answer in terms of getting our arguments out there. And I think the other thing too that's really important to emphasize is, Charlie was a person that really believed in history and legacy and our country. Like I think back to one of the other events that he did with the Republican Party, and Lynn Freeze, Foster Freeze, Lynn Freeze's husband, was one of the first donors to Turning Point, and was heavily involved in providing, the capital and the resources to get Charlie's idea off the ground. And Foster passed away in 2021. And to raise funds for the party, there was an auction for Foster's desk. And Charlie was there. He gave the speech at that event. And he said, that's the desk where Foster told me that Turning Point, that he was going to help fund Turning Point to get it off the ground. And he bid on that auction item and took that item home. And it showed me, one of the things I really think, driving out here, thinking about Charlie is how much he really believed in legacy and history and the foundations of our country. He wants our country to succeed, and we have to make sure as we evaluate these issues that we think about it in terms of that lens, that vein.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of success in the future. Again, they killed the guy that was beating them at the argument. And if you can't actually have a conversation without, ending up dying on stage, there's not a lot of room. There's not a lot of direction left you can go.
A lot of this, I remember, a lot of that aspect of not being able to talk to someone because you disagree with them. I remember that distinctly starting in the 90s when I was in high school and then in college. And there was this idea that if you disagreed with somebody, or if somebody disagreed with you, right, and you thought that person who disagreed with you was on the wrong side of history, right? The stupid, idiotic phrase.
That's an idiotic phrase.
Yes, was on the wrong side of history. Then you could say, stop. I don't even need to talk to you anymore because you are a racist. You're homophobic. You're whatever. Eventually you're transphobic, right? And so there was this idea that you don't even have to engage the other side of your argument if you can just blanketly say that argument is not worth having because your perspective is wrong. And I remember this perspective coming from friends' parents, right? From friends, from other students, from professors. There was this idea of like, I don't have to talk to you. I have now decided that you are X-ist problem.
Yep.
And I don't have to talk to you. And I remember at the time being like pretty grossed out by that perspective and saying so, like, that's absurd. Have the conversation. Every concept, every idea is on the table and open for debate. We're all, we're all educated people here. We can do that. We can talk about anything. And they've killed that.
There are a bunch of videos going viral of leftists.
TMZ also, apparently.
That are basically saying, this is just the beginning. Y'all are next. Things like that.
Yep.
And what I want to mention about these live events is one of the fears that we've talked about quite a bit is that that shot heard round the world moment. There are a lot of leftists that are sitting there itching to pull a trigger. With this moment, we are now seeing them saying, it's on, this is it. The signal basically went out with Attack on Charlie. That season has begun.
So it is open season.
Well, these leftists are basically, what the attitude they're having now is, have we started it? We're starting it now? The threat has increased exponentially. If you understand what I'm trying to say, right? When this group believes that there's no resistance, they just stay at home. With these videos that are going massively viral and they have tens of millions of views, they're all basically saying, it started, go do it now to each other. Which means the risk factor at all these events is probably 100-fold.
Did you see Barron Trump moved back to D.C.?
Really?
He's finishing college by living in the White House.
I think it's important not to underestimate the amount of vitriol that far leftists has for the average conservative, and that you think you are generally, genuinely irredeemable, genuinely deplorable, racist, homophobic, xenophobic,
same.
Genocide supporter.
I think the same with them.
They wholeheartedly believe that, though, and to a degree that dehumanizes the average conservative. And that mindset is... I think we really need to internalize them actually thinking that, though.
Well, I think to that point, it is worth noting that, yeah, you're right. That to be honest with you, that should be obvious to everyone. But these attitudes are prevalent enough among the left where I think that people need to also remember that should they get, and I've said this before, should they get back into positions of power, they are a threat to every conservative, right? The idea that that Democrats will take control of the office of the executive and the House, and they won't use the Justice Department to go after conservatives, they absolutely will.
I don't even think it needs to go
that
that
is something.
Far. It's
What?
Just, we're back in an era of political violence, not on the level of the government, but on the level of the vigilante.
No, but if the Democrats take the House again, or take the House and the office of the executive, then the people on the street will feel empowered because the government won't prosecute them. Like the problem that Tim just laid out, right? Where DAs and judges will not actually do things to prevent crime. They will not use any kind of authority that they have to prevent crime. That's only going to be exacerbated when the Democrats take back the positions of federal authority.
When?
Well, that's the way things go, Ian. There's almost always. I would love to think that it's going to be Republicans from here on out.
Or just non-crazy leftists, maybe non-extremists.
Those don't exist anymore.
Jasmine Crockett's on her way out.
They don't.
Jasmine Crockett is not at all on her way out.
I thought she lost. Didn't you say she's on her?
It doesn't matter. She's one person. Look at the way that people are talking on the internet about Charlie Kirk today.
You find what you look for, but yeah, I know what you mean.
The left is rallying right now. Like the tweets that I'm seeing, 15,000 retweets on an account with 5,000 followers saying it's time more now.
It's been quiet for a month. Trump's authority has silenced, and when people get silenced, the voice of the unheard, you know what the voice of the unheard is, so they say, violence. It's been very quiet for a month.
The issue is Trump has been effective in shutting down the far left extremists, sending in the National Guard, these ICE raids as people had voted for, and the left is doing exactly what we all thought was going to happen a year ago. When we on this show said, Donald Trump will use the National Guard, we said it on the show. I've been saying it. Trump will engage in these ICE raids. I asked, I believe it was Sam Cedar, do you think Trump will use military with these immigration raids? And Sam said yes. He told me I was crazy for thinking civil war was possible, and I asked him, if Trump wins, will he use the military for these immigration raids? And he was like, yes, I think so. Are y'all going to just let him do it? He said, probably, maybe not. The left will not let Trump engage in these ICE raids, deport people, nor send in the National Guard. So what did we see? We're seeing it now. This is the escalation that I feared and we discussed over a year ago. The National Guard has been deployed. The Marines were deployed.
And it worked.
Indeed. The National Guard and the Marines were deployed to LA because they were attacking and firebombing federal facilities. So ICE is doing their job, Operation Midway Blitz. The left responds right now online. Now, I'm going to say this. We don't know, but I think it's fairly obvious that the assassination on Charlie Kirk is leftist motivated, leftist carried out. That's Occam's razor. There seems to be no other reasonable explanation. But for the sake of Cash, the investigation, I'll defer to them to figure out what they, when they do, if they do. Regardless of what actually ends up turning out to be the core facts in the case, one thing is clear. Everyone in this country on the right believes it was the left that did it. The left is celebrating it and believing the left did it as well. The left is active on X, Blue Sky, and other platforms. Even Occupy Democrats celebrating his death, celebrating it, saying, well, he was a fascist, and the comments are all agreeing. They are issuing their rallying cries now. It's exactly as we predicted.
Yeah, it sort of is. I don't want to blame the Chinese for everything, but when you say leftism, I think of communism, and then I think of stalwart CCP. Would love nothing more than to see their greatest enemy kill itself. And if you could incite that by getting one side of that country to hate the other side, ooh, what a win for you, because then they don't even know you did it. I don't know. I'm not looking.
It's so much longer of a game than that. I mean, it's been stewing in colleges and on the left for ages now. It's not just the Chinese.
We are going to we're going to go to chats. So smash the like button, share the show, all that good stuff. We for obvious reasons, we didn't do our standard promos or anything like the normal show. This is much more serious than that. Super Chats and Rumble Rants are your guys' comments and thoughts on the matter, so we will read those as much as we can. Shane H. Wilder says, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Raqui Scott, how do you pronounce it? Raqui Scott, Impache, Charlie, the Italian, rest in peace. Mike Schmitz spoke on his death saying it would be a defect of humanity not to experience anger. We need to use that anger to do good until we meet again, Charlie. Cheeseburger says, Tim, start a crowdfund to support Charlie Kirk's family. Consider this a donation. I hope there is one. Let me see if I can find one. Probably a give, send, go. There is, 4 hours ago. I don't know if I can find a link. I don't think I can find a link. It appears there is one. I can't find it, though. Let me see. Maybe Give, Send, Go just has it. Trending campaigns. There is a campaign here for Charlie Kirk's family.
Make sure it's real.
Well, it's on Give, Send, Go. Their goal is $1 million. They've raised so far $25,000. Don't know who set it up, but it's on the front page of Give, Send, Go. We like Give, Send, Go. Those guys are great. We've had them on the show several times. So I feel for Charlie's family, man. There's no words. CB85 says, Charlie proclaimed Jesus as Lord, and now he is with his Savior and Lord. Trump lives, Charlie goes home, God is Lord. It is still sad to hear, I know Trump says we take solace that he is with Jesus and things like that, and I respect that tremendously, but it is still hard to hear.
Yeah, dude. He could have been alive for another 40 years.
Such a young man.
Yeah. Solace is
Can't
joy.
believe it, man.
Remember that.
Accomplished so much.
Some of these chats, guys, I respect, but it's just hard to read. It's hard to read. 3D Pyromaniac says the left has now officially killed the moderate right. He valued open debate over violence, and they effing killed him for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because he was right about everything. This was the way to win these conversations in public to prove his point. And they knew that the only way they win is through controlling the flow of information and lying.
Yep.
There's a lot of these Rumble rants and chats that I can't read, but they're not that bad. I'm not trying to make it seem like they're really crazy or anything. It's just people are angry. Mason M93 says, Charlie Kirk was born the same year I was and has done more than I am likely ever to do. Why does it feel like every day the left is daring the right to be the worst version of itself? Sir, I only tell you, if you really feel that Charlie has done more than you ever would or ever could do, now's the time to do 10 times more than you're doing now, because without Charlie, someone's going to have to carry that weight. And we're looking at you, man. We're looking at everybody. Jumped Up Pleb says, as Nick Frieda said, they didn't kill him because he was hateful, but because he was effective. He was the best of us. May God welcome him and strengthen his family. Omnistone Herald says Asmongold referred to Charlie as a right-wing extremist. Not really sure what he thought was extreme. Did he really? Doesn't sound like Asmongold. Don't know. All right. Unravel Guardian says, Phil, I said that a week ago. These people are not liberals. We haven't lost that conversation. I hope this turning point leads to a better America, but I fear the Civil War is still ahead. Rip CJK. Was that his middle name?
Joseph? I don't know. Charlie Kirk?
I believe it was a J, yes.
James.
Charlie James Kirk. Charles.
Aussie Brad says the Charlie news is all over the Australian news and social media. He wasn't just a Christian and conservative icon in the U.S., but throughout the world. This event will be a major catalyst in change. Turning Point UK.
Yeah, and there were so many global leaders who were posting their sadness at his passing as well.
Well, Charlie had been doing some events in the UK about how they need to turn things around there.
Yeah, those fascinating debates at Cambridge.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
He was more than
really interesting
a Christian or conservative. Like, he was just a guy, like a really amazing guy, and found himself in politics and born in the United States. But what a guy. Man. There's videos breaking down the left-wing media coverage of the assassination. It's so hard to watch.
You don't want to watch it.
It's just brainwashing of brainwashing.
It's just celebrating. It's crazy.
Just anger-inducing.
My God.
Trash.
Let's grab. There are many Rumble rants and chats, and so I'm being as selective as I can with the time that we have. And so, Jim Pfaff says, I stand with Javier Milei's statement. The left is dedicated to anything, including violence, to get their way. We must resolve to oppose leftists in the Democratic Party.
Yes, that is true.
It's so crazy what they did Tiananmen Square in China in early 90s, their willingness to just
bowl over those people. Yeah. And you can't find out about that in China. So when Chinese go abroad and they find out about it, like, they never learned about it. It's been effectively covered up in China.
All right. Random guy says, a part of me died today, and I fear what's being reborn in its place. We're being singled out, demonized, and killed, and I'm just tired of it. Tired of it all. I feel hurt and alone beyond belief because nobody cares around me. I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call for my liberal friends. I've got people that I've known for decades, and we still talk periodically, but they post these ish-lib memes all the time that's just fake, and I'm constantly hitting up being like, that's not real. And I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call. There was a post about Hassan. I think it was from the New York Times. I don't know what he said, but the reporting is that he is telling people to stop celebrating this because he's next. The thing they're celebrating will come for him all the same, and we don't want to be in that arena.
He was going to debate. They were going to debate in 2 weeks.
They were supposed to debate in 2 weeks.
I saw the video of Hassan seeing the video of Charlie being killed. They didn't show it, but his reaction is very human.
Well, it's absolutely horrifying.
Yeah.
That video is absolutely devastating.
I got issues with Hassan for sure, but we've looked at his YouTube channel and I've defended it. Because as much as I don't agree with his views and I think they're ill-informed, his channel is actually just a collection of the news stories similar to what we do, but with bad views. And I'm sure he's the same of us. While some of these other people just spam blast Trump. He doesn't do that. And so we're allowed to disagree. And I appreciate he's not like Sam Cedar, who just says my name 24/7. Bro, Sam's made like 3 videos about me already, like in the past couple of days. When I was gone for August sick, he didn't make a single video about me and his views dropped 20%. No joke. Hassan doesn't do that. So I can respect Hassan has views I disagree with, and that's always been okay. I think he says bad things. But some of these people, they're grifters, they're bad. Hassan's not innocent, not perfect, but I can at least give him that.
Well, it is also 9/11 tomorrow. He did say, I believe the quote was, "America deserved 9/11."
He said
like I would.
He's the worst.
He's
the worst.
Like after your nice spiel, oh, maybe he does nice news coverage. He's also a communist piece of who believes that America deserved 9/11, and it just also is tomorrow.
But when he
just
says,
happens to be tomorrow.
When he says, "Don't be violent," stop encouraging that things like that. I'm like, okay, good. If you're a communist and you're not advocating that we go around committing violence against each other, then all I have to do is argue against you, and I know I'm going to win.
I'm sure he's very careful with his words now, post his comments in the past.
Sure.
And I'm not going to say what I believe he really thinks.
Sam Hyde woke him up.
He's an anti-American communist. That's all there is to it.
I think
anti-American.
I think when Sam Hyde went to that arena and said he was going to kill Hassan, that was a hard wake-up call for him. I also will say this, with all due respect to Sam Hyde, who I think is a funny guy. I think he's a smart guy. I've got no beef. I don't mean to be disrespectful. But I think that was inappropriate that he said that he was going to kill Hassan. And the reason is, he said, not as a joke in real life. And people tell me, oh, he was just joking. I'm like, no, it's not a joke. There are people who follow Hassan who saw that and said, this proves the far right are racists who want to kill us. We got to do it first. It escalates things in an insane way. And you can't just be like, I was joking. Not to these people. We've had people come on this show and say things where, like, if you really were on the left and you believed this, then you would go do this thing. And we're like, show's off the air. And they're like, well, I was saying hypothetically. And I'm like, there are leftists who see this show and you just told them to be violent. Like, it's a call to violence is call to violence. We'll get banned for it. You can't do it. So when he did that, joke or otherwise, liberals heard it. And they don't think it's a joke. Hassan didn't think it was a joke. And people make fun of him for it. And I'm like, I get why he's freaking out, bro. Like, we have to deal with this stuff. So I don't like Hassan's views and the things he says. I get that. But I understand why that escalation is bad. All right. What do we have here? I'm trying to be selective. Sorry, guys. GF says, this is our generation's MLK event.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly
crazy.
right. It's the truth. That's entirely the truth.
Do you guys think there's a risk of civil war?
Sure. Yeah. I've been studying a lot about the American Civil War. It would be a different type of thing completely. It would be like a dismantling of the United States by 8 different countries, corporations, local communities.
It would be like finding your cousin in a landfill with his arms tied behind his back with piano wire and drill holes in his thighs. It would be like what goes on in Mexico. It would be heads on the side of roads.
Probably like the water would cut.
It wouldn't be armed factions the way, like, you know, people fighting the way that you think about war now. It would be chaotic. It would be brutal. It is not at all what people think it is.
No, people hiding in schools. I mean, I think a lot, and us being like, well, we have to attack them in the school. We have to blow up the school because they're harboring terrorists and all this. No. But yes, there is a threat.
One of my friends asked me today. We were sitting down, and this was still in the midst of not knowing what had happened to Charlie, and I wanted everything just to believe that he was okay. And I got sent one of the videos, and within looking at the first frame, I threw my phone and started crying because I knew, even though I didn't want to believe it, I didn't know for sure, but I mean, you knew. And my friend said, this could lead to civil war. And this is not a political dude. This is a skateboarder. He doesn't know anything about politics at all. And I said, bro, this is exactly what war looks like. It's not like maybe it might happen. The question now is, with the left's response about escalation, if they actually start taking up on it. My other fear is that people on the right might escalate as well. But people seem to think war is like a bunch of troops marching towards each other. They've never watched a video from Syria during the Civil War. 2 guys in one building in a residential neighborhood, nothing else. And then a bunch of people get shot and they're dead. That's what war looks like. It looks like a car pulls in and a bunch of guys with guns jump out and it's a shopping district and you're just buying some melons and you look around, they run in, start grabbing a bunch of stuff, throwing it in the truck, they shoot a bunch of people, get in their truck and leave. That's what Civil War looks like.
Yep.
The American Civil War was several sovereign states and a union that had fractured. And these sovereign states had standing armies. Civil war around the world is not like that. There is no unified standing army. Factions break apart. In Syria, for instance, there were something like 12 factions at the start of the Civil War. But we look to America and we think civil war is going to be one side, another side, linking up and then going to war. No, that's just war. And that's archaic. What we are more likely to see in this country is factional. There's going to be different sects of leftism. There's going to be different sects of right-wing conservative groups and moderate groups. There's different cultures. And if civil war were to happen, what it look like for you, most of you, nothing will change except for what you hear on the news. You'll go to work, prices will go up. You'll go grocery shopping and you'll be like, well, I guess I'm not buying avocado anymore. Why? You'll hear on the news that certain roads, freeways from the south had been bombed. And you'll be like, yeah, the trucks can't get through. But your grains and your staple products that are manufactured in your region probably will still be there, but the prices will go up a little bit. That's what civil war will look like. For people in big cities, a lot of these cities probably won't see a thing. It's when I have this conversation with people, it's interesting because they believe, I hear this all the time, like when I went on the Trigonometry podcast, they said, I go outside, nothing's happening, there's no civil war. And my question is always, do you think that in Atlanta in 1863, a guy walked out of his house and his neighbor looked at him and said, ooh, I'm going to fight you? No, they were neighbors. They lived in the same city. They believed the same things. DC's 80%, 90% Democrat. No one there is arguing with each other. But these people in other areas do. The question becomes, in these cities, what will we likely see? Insurgency, meaning why would an Antifa group in Portland shoot and kill other Antifa? They're not going to do it. When the far left took over the Capitol Hill autonomous zone, they called it, a handful of people died because they were paranoid and panicked and shot them up. But all in all, what did they do? They got a bunch of guns, surrounded this area, took over buildings, and told people they couldn't come in. Now, if you were a right-wing group with MAGA hats on and you approached them, they'd shoot and kill you. Why do I think that? How do I know that? Because some kids were in a vehicle. They were joyriding, teenagers. Someone spread a rumor that they were white supremacists, so the armed Chaz guards unloaded on them and killed them without investigating, without knowing. Mm-hmm. That's what they do. That's what civil war looks like. Now, here's the thing. At the time, people said, yeah, Tim, but it happened and there was no civil war. Indeed, periods of civil strife don't always lead to civil war. The next step in civil strife becomes civil war. The civil rights era of the United States was a civil strife period. It did not lead to civil war. What we are dealing with right now may just be civil strife. We don't know. But based on what the left is saying, we have two major considerations. The deployment of the National Guard and military, ICE raids across the country. That is federal, military, and law enforcement action to a greater degree than seen in the past 10, 20 years. The assassination of Charlie Kirk, and the rhetoric on the left calling for more within the same day. If the left decides to take action and we start seeing these armed groups like Chaz Chop pop up and they say it's time to fight back against ICE, the only question then becomes when we collectively just think, yeah, maybe it's a civil war.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's it.
And what does a civil war look like if not the violent leftists versus the law enforcement? You know?
And it's not necessarily local government, but take a look right now at the crime in Chicago, and Trump says we want to send the National Guard, and Pritzker says no. It's exactly what we said last year on this show, that Trump would try to deploy the National Guard, the blue states would say no, and we already saw the conflict with Newsom trying to take command of the National Guard from Trump. This is all standing before us. I don't know what it looks like, but I'll tell you this. In the Syrian civil war, how did it start? There were protests. The government fired on protesters. Various factions popped up, started shooting back. It was not A versus B. It was not blue versus red. It was random group over here, random group over here, random group over there. After a year or so, they started to coalesce. And then it was ultimately ISIS that basically took everything over and shut down the more moderate reformists.
Mm-hmm.
This is the recent civil war you're talking about in Syria?
10 years ago.
Okay.
It started with a dozen or so factions. They were different factions that were not aligned politically. They didn't organize with each other versus the government. And their argument was the government was shooting and killing protesters. The government argued they were terrorists that were inciting destabilization of the country. After a long enough period of destabilization, ISIS, al-Nusra, and other groups started to force these people to join them or die, creating a power structure under one umbrella, which created ISIS over the whole region.
Was the CIA involved with that, with USAID?
Some speculate. We don't know for sure.
We armed the rebels in the Syrian conflict to help end the Kurds, I believe, against ISIS. And then the other side was also being supported by Russia. Turkey's involved. There's a lot of players.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that when they hear, oh, you know, the U.S. made ISIS or whatever, they think that like it was the United States trying to create this group. These people already had these ideas and they had these desires. They totally had agency. They were motivated to do this. What the United States did was gave them arms. That's it. Like the U.S. didn't have to tell them, hey, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. They already had all these plans and all these things they wanted to do. The United States didn't have to convince ISIS, you should try to reinstate a caliphate. They already wanted that. What the U.S. did was gave them arms and money. So
we are going to, so Shane Cashman, host of Tales from the Inverted World, is going live right now. And he also knew Charlie, and he has been at our events. Normally, his show discusses the weird, the wild. It's kind of the pressure release valve of Timcast IRL. After you see all the craziness, Shane, Brandon, and Alex, they will do a show where you get to goof off and talk about aliens and Bigfoot and ghosts. Anyone can call into the show. But today, he is going to be discussing one of the most consequential story of our generation, maybe of the past 50 years, on par with some of the most pressing stories of the past century. He'll be discussing the Charlie Kirk story. So we are going to go to the uncensored portion of the show at rumble.com/TimcastIRL. But for those of you that are watching on YouTube and the non-premium Rumble, I encourage you to subscribe to Tales from the Inverted World and hear Shane out as he discusses his thoughts on this. He wasn't here to talk with us about it, but he's going to be doing his show now. So you can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Please hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. You want to shout anything out, good sir? I mean, it's been a heck of a show.
Yeah, it's a sad day, and we will not be silenced, though. We have to keep the mantle, the torch going that Charlie has been doing for all these years, and we're going to. I know we will.
Right on, man.
I'm Libby Emmons, and you can find me on Twitter. And thank you for sticking with us tonight as we tried to make sense of the completely nonsensible.
Thank you for tuning in tonight, everybody. My name's Elaad Eliyahu. I'm the White House correspondent here. You can find me at Elaad Eliyahu on everything. Ian?
Ian Crossland is where you'll find me on the internet at Ian Crossland. And Chuck, I just wanted to point out, you're Chuck for Wyoming on X. People can follow you there.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, man. Good to see you. And Phil.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. Today I want to sign off. I saw Secretary of War tweeted this today. It was Matthew 25:23. Well done, good and faithful servant. Rest in peace, Charlie.
Please join us at rumble.com/TimcastIRL. We will continue this conversation, uncensored portion, and we'll see y'all there in a few seconds.